Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy Three Stacks in this thing, representing my team, Team King Games, all day, every day. So I decided to go over an update on my Red Eyes. It was basically like just some OG classics. We were doing Dark Magician, Blue Eyes, and Red Eyes. And after strenuous playtesting with the deck, live and learn situations here and there, I was like, man, you know what? This definitely needs an upgrade. Just because even though it performs the way it was built to be performed, which, I'm happy about that. Like when you pilot a deck and it does what you want it to do, you get satisfied. What I was realizing is what it does wasn't good enough. Like it was able to put out, like its best board, honestly. Well, not its best board, but its most competitive board, honestly, was Lord of the Raid with Gearfried and like a Kunai with Chain, where you kind of just like, take a monster, equip it to Gearfried, pop a back row, like do stuff like that. Or you would just like take a monster, unequip, pop, and then like Lord of the Red triggers twice. It was like, you need firepower, like you need ways to push through things going second. Like it just needed more engine. It just wasn't consistent enough. Just because the cards that I was running, like the impact that they had was just not good enough, if it makes sense. So I did some upgrading and I messed around with a bunch of other cards and I ended up running into this build, basically. It was something that I wanted to do to begin with. I told you guys in the Red Eyes video I did first, I wanted to do the ritual build. So this deck is just pure engine now. It's like we're trying to get to everything as quickly as possible. So we just play a bunch of ways to do the same exact thing. Let's hop right into this main deck. Starting off with monsters, we're playing 2 copies of Paladin of the Dark Dragon. This card is amazing. It's pure engine, like I said. This card is just really, really good. First of all, if he attacks a defense monster, he is destroyed at the start of the damage step. So he just outs monsters right away. If they're in defense, of course. He can tribute himself, and he can special summon a Red Eyes monster from your hand or deck. That just gets you straight to this bad boy right here. Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. He's at 1 for a reason. And we're trying to see cards like him as quickly as possible. So this card is just amazing. He's like an engine all by itself. I just love what he does. He's just so freaking good. And I made a statement before in the video that I did my Red Eyes when I said that I feel like Red Eyes has more competitive potential than Blue Eyes does. Now, the reason why I said that is because there's so many different builds for Red Eyes. There's a lot of things that you can do with this deck. Whereas with Blue Eyes, it's either Blue Eyes or Chaos Max, and that's pretty much it. And we know Blue Eyes has proved itself. But what we haven't seen is Red Eyes doing anything in this meta, and that's the only reason is because people are scared to play it. Like they don't feel like it's good enough, and I feel like this deck does have competitive potential. But like I said, it's just an opinion, and you can contradict it if you want. But I still feel like this deck has huge competitive potential, considering not only the new support but just how the deck plays. It's very unorthodox. Not a lot of decks can actually counter this deck. And also at the same time, there's not very many hand traps that necessarily shut it down. Like Ash can hit it, sure, Ash can do something. And like Joe has like such a minuscule impact. Ogre doesn't really do anything at all. Gamma could possibly hit something, but I feel like this deck can actually push through hand traps because it doesn't have a linear playstyle in fashion. It has so many different options to do the same thing. Of course, we're playing the 3 Gearfried because Gearfried is just too darn good. Like, he's Monster Reborn. He's a freaking Tornado Dragon on legs. Like, when you do the Kunai with Chain and Black Fang with Chain, take your monster and then equip it to him. As soon as it's equipped effect, destroy it and then clear your back row. Like, you're just picking apart boards. He's amazing, dude. Like, he's so freaking good. The Monster Reborn effect is probably the most clutch effect ever in mid to late game. He can just recur Red Eye Slash. He can recur like Red Eyes himself. He can recur a baby. Another copy of himself. Go for some rank 4 plays. Gearfried is just too darn good, in my opinion, of course. And then continue with the 3Ls. We're playing 3 copies of Red Eyes. The art is weird. Like, we have 2 of the same art and then 1 of a different one. I couldn't find more of the OG arts, or I would just play like 3 of the OGs. But Red Eyes is Red Eyes, and it's his deck. You got to play 3 of him. Next up, we played 3 copies of Black Metal Dragon. This card is really, really good. Due to the new support, you're actually able to abuse this card a lot more than you could have in the past. There's no way to really like resolve this card going first, but now you actually can, and it's really awesome. It searches any Red Eyes card. So this is pure engine. This is pure engine. Gearfried's pure engine. And of course, for the 2Os, we're playing 2 Blackstone of Legend. I still believe to this day that this card is just necessary at 2 and not 3. Because once you see it, you don't need any more. Like, it just keeps recycling itself, and it just leads to bricky hands when you have 2 of it. Or when you've been living off of 1, then you draw into another one. Like, you're playing 2 because I do play Pot of Desires. But honestly, I would technically just play 1 of it because once you have 1, you've got it. And that's my reasoning for playing 2 of it, though. Then we play 2 copies of Red Eyes Retro Dragon. He's kind of like the hand trap of the deck. I'm playing no hand traps in this deck. We're doing a bunch of deck profiles with no hand traps because people are asking me to do it. Red Eyes Retro is just amazing. Board wipes just turn into, it was just a waste, and now I have a free monster on board, and everything you destroyed is back. He does an additional normal summon, which is pretty awesome. He's like a Brilliant Fusion on legs. And also, there's just like interactions where, you know, if your monster gets destroyed by battle, stuff like that, like where you can just bring everything back. Him and then Red Eye Slash, and then like Meteor Black Dragon, like, you know, you have a lot of ways to float. Like Meteor Black Dragon floats, Red Eye Slash Dragon floats. This monster makes everything float. Then you have Red Eye Spirit. Then you have Red Eyes Darkness Metal. Then you have Gearfried. Then you have Red Eyes Flare. Then you have like Return to the Red Eyes. Like there's too many different ways to recur. It's just so many different ways for you to revive everything. Like this deck has just pure gospel revival. It's crazy. Retro is just really, really good. Then we're playing 1 Red Eyes Baby Dragon. I had to cut a lot of cards to make the deck not only smaller, but also to add in the compact engine that I wanted to play, which was Paladin. I thought Lord of the Red was amazing. The thing that was coming up too much with him was I wasn't able to resolve him first turn without taking a huge neg. Like his ritual spell lets you banish Red Eyes monsters from the grave to summon him, but you don't always get that setup. And then also the Red Eyes monster you have in the graveyard, like Red Eyes itself, you want to keep it. So it's like I wasn't able to consistently summon him first turn, and his effect was always worth it. But then I was like, you know what? I feel like I want to play more engine. Like I want to play more ways to get into the actual plays of the deck. Lord of the Red was not a mandatory effect, but he was nice to have because he did allow me to play more on my opponent's turn. But I thought Paladin of the Dark Dragon is really, really powerful. He's a great engine card. Like I fell in love with this guy. I'm always going to play Red Eyes this way now. Like I just love him. And he's a ritual. Rituals are my favorite monsters. Then we're playing 1 Flare. So, you know, back to the baby. A lot of people play this card at 3. I actually was playing it at 2 because it's a really nifty effect. But now what I'm starting to do is use Blackstone to put him back into the deck. Use Gearfried to recur him from the graveyard. His effect is nice when you can resolve it, but also consider the fact that you would waste your normal summon on this card. And I don't like doing that. So, because he can be Ash Blossom, and because his effect is so situational, I feel like he's not as good as people like hype him up to be, but he's still a good card nonetheless. But he's just not as good as people say he is. And then 1 Red Eyes Flare Metal. Just because you don't want to break opening up with too many big high-level monsters. And then, you know, we're playing Red Eyes Meteor Dragon Impact now. I wasn't playing it in the past. Now, reason being is because, like I just said, I don't want to brick in this deck. I don't want to open up with a bunch of high-level monsters and nothing to do. And then like, oh, yeah, Red Eyes Fusion, you can make 1 play. I just didn't like that. Like, I didn't like playing all the vanillas, like all the Geminis, like the Archfiend one, this one, Flare. Like, I just don't like it. And that's just me. If you want to play all the Geminis, play them. It's your deck. I can't tell you how to play your deck. But the reason why we've decided to finally just swallow our pride and incorporate the impact is because my homeboy Cool Cuts, who's actually my teammate, went over this with me yesterday when I was upgrading the deck. He plays Red Eyes too. And he was like, bro, why aren't you playing Meteor Black Comet Dragon? I was like, I don't like its vanilla. I don't like the Gemini monster. He was like, well, it doesn't matter if you're playing that 1 brick in the deck because read this monster's effect. And I read him and I was like, yeah, he's a good effect. He was like, no, read it again. I'm like, okay. And he's like, no, bro, his name is Red Eyes while he's on the field. Cool plays Inferno Fire Blast in his deck. He was like, I FTK'd somebody with that. Just because he said that, I was like, oh my god, you know, this card's kind of good. Like, the burn damage is there. Like, the milling to burn. And then he was like, no, read it again. I'm like, oh, I'm sleeping on it. When it's sent from the monster zone to the graveyard, he floats. I thought all he did this whole time was just burn. Whenever he summoned, he just burns. I was like, that's whatever. Like, when I saw him at first, I just thought of him like, when he summoned, he burns. Who cares about that? 35 meter, blah, blah, blah. Cool was like, no, he floats. Like, that's the best thing about him. I was like, you know what? He's absolutely worth the play. Like, he's worth the impact. And then there's also the times where you can summon this off of impact or off of Red Eye Spirit or something like that. Then you can conduct your additional normal summon off Retro or just conduct your normal summon on him. Now all your Red Eyes monsters can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. That's very important to keep in mind that he has that protection. So I was like, this card's not that bad. I ended up just wanting to play him now. And then the 1 Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, the real MVP of the monster lineup, because you're able to get him as soon as possible. And there's a lot of ways to recur him. And he just summons back this bad boy, and this bad boy summons back something else. Like I said earlier, there's too many ways to special summon from the grave. There's like no way you're not going to have a field presence in this deck. So you're not going to lose because you have no monsters. You'll just lose because you just downright got outmaneuvered. For the spells, 3 Red Eyes Insight. Because it mills for cost, even if he gets Ash Blossom, you can still have some form of a play. If you have Gearfried, in a way that triggers effect. You can just Monster Reborn and make Baguska at bare minimum. And it's just a really, really good card. Like, you always get something out of it. I like it a lot. We're playing 3 copies of Pre-Preparation of Rites because the Paladin of Dark Dragon's ritual specifically lists his name. We're also playing 2 copies of Preparation of Rites simply because I cannot conduct my normal summon of Manju to get to that engine, because I feel like my normal summon always has to go to better plays. So because we can't afford to run Manju because he would lead to bricks, we have to play as many ways to get into Paladin of Dark Dragon without using our normal summon. So these are the 8 searchers of the deck. And then continuing for the draw power now, that's it for the searching. We're playing 3 Allure of Darkness. We're playing 2 cards of the Red Stone. And we're also playing 2 copies of Pot of Desire. You have a lot of really, really good spells in this deck. Like, there's a lot of ways to deck them. And then for our summoning enablers, we're playing 2 Red Eyes Fusion. I decided to finally cut this card down to 2. I was playing it at 3 because I was like, this card's amazing. It really is. It's a great card. But the thing is, now that I'm playing the deck the way it is and having the engine of the Paladin of the Dark Dragon, which is a great card, this conflicts. When you open up with this in your hand, it's technically like a brick, because half the time I'm always going to go, well, like 65% of the time, I'm always going to go for the Paladin of the Dark Dragon because I feel like he's a smarter play to make. And this becomes an ultimately like a dead draw. So I just hated drawing into it. So I just cut it down to 2 because I still feel like I want to see the card, but just not too much in my opening hands. Because like I said, it can conflict sometimes, but not all the time. Then we're also playing 2 copies of Dark Dragon Ritual. Not only does this summon the ritual monster, but you can banish it from the graveyard, and you can add in a Red Eyes spell or trap from your deck to your grave. So this searches, these search, these draw, like, and then you have more engine, like this is engine, you know, Retro's not even engine, but Blackstone's engine. Then you've got Black Metal, he searches, he's engine. Then you've got Paladin, he's engine. Like, the deck is just pure engine. It's so freaking consistent. I love it. And now we've opted to playing 3 Fangwood Chain instead of 2, just because of how consistent we are able to, like, how consistently we're able to get a Red Eyes on field right away. I was like, dude, like, I'm not trying to waste my Red Eyes Insight search on this anymore. Like, I want to open up with this now, because, like, bare minimum, if you just, like, brick and you have a Red Eyes monster, you just normally set this and pass, and you can still do something. And then 2 copies of Red Eyes Spirit and 1 Return of the Red Eyes. Simply because 1 is like, if you can protect it enough with like Red Eye Slash, from Red Eye Slash protects it from like Twin Twisters, not Twin Twisters, but from Galaxy Cyclone, Cosmic Cyclone, which is the only thing that will really hurt. You can just continue to get never-ending advantage. And if your opponent Ghost Ogres it or Twin Twisters or Spiral Sleepers it, you get its additional effect, which is better than its first effect. So there's like nothing bad about the card. As long as you keep it up, you just like, dude, this is why I decided to cut Return of the Dragon Lords and see how the deck works without Return of the Dragon Lords. I'm not saying don't play it. It's a great card, and I was playing it at 3 in the last build, but what I was realizing is the deck has too much recursion. Like, it's too much. It already does that very, very well. Like, it does that job, summoning from the graveyard very consistently. It was a 46 card deck, believe it or not. It's now a 44 card deck, and I'm very, very happy with where it's at. I feel like it doesn't have to be 40 cards to be good. That's just like a theory that people believe in, and there's a good reason for playing 40 cards, but I have my reasons for not playing it. We're playing 2 fusions, Red Eye Slash and Meteor Black Comet Dragon. You have 2 Red Eyes fusions, so you can only resolve 2 a duel, and I feel like these are the best targets. Even though this guy right here is pretty cool. Yeah, he has a cool effect, and his Gemini is pretty cool too. This is like a Raigeki on legs. I feel like this fusion is like pseudo lackluster. Like, he can be good sometimes. I feel like he's not always going to be like the optimal play. I guess going second, you can do something, but the problem is now there's so much interference. There's like, you have your opponent's able to disrupt your plays now. Like, there's hand traps everywhere. Spiral Sleeper and Time Pendulum Graph are like the freaking thorns in your side in those matchups. If you summon this guy and Sleeper kills him, you can't do anything else. If you summon this guy and Time Pendulum Graph kills him, you can't do anything else. Like, you just can't. I just feel like even though he's great going second, you just never really get to do it that way. So the 2 fusions, 2 Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon, Draco Sack, Big Eye, and Galaxy Tomahawk for the rank 7s. This is my main go-to. I was playing it at 3 because, like, you just always make this. He's just the go-to. Like, he helps to contribute to the burn. Like, another win condition of this deck is it can burn you to death. And you also can play Infernal Fire Blast if you want. So, like, he's just way too good. And then he's Monster Reborn, and he can be destroyed by card effects while he does materials. He's a great card. And then Bapuska, Syphilis for when you, like, get Ash on that Insight, so you just use Gear Free to special Gear Free and then do this. Then for the links, which this deck can link summon like a beast because it summons from the grave so heavily, you just link special from grave, link special from grave, do it again. Double firewall, one tri-gate, one decoy, one tri-gate. Tri-gate's not here because you can possibly co-link him by 3. I think you can only do that if you just like, I don't know, like somehow we're able to keep all the monsters you had first turn and they didn't get killed, but still it's just never going to happen. He's here because his arrow point's up, and that's very important when you're trying to co-link a firewall. Akashic, Proxy, and Link Spider. That's pretty much going to sum it up for the extra deck. So cards that I took out were Return to the Dragon Lords. I took out 1 for 1. I took out the third Red Eyes Fusion. I kind of cut things, and then my Soul Charge is being lent to another deck. I only have 2 Soul Charges, sad story. So I made a bunch of cuts, and I feel like the sacrifices I made were worth it to make this deck better than it was, and I'm really liking how it's running now. Like, I'm very, very satisfied. I'll show you test hands and combo tutorials with this deck if you would like to see. But I think Red Eyes is good, contrary to what people will say to me, like, no, it's not good. That's cool. You have your opinion, and I have mine, and I'm not going to go back and forth with anybody, but I can be entitled to my opinion just like you're entitled to yours, and that's just what I'm going to end it on. God bless you guys. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells, and stay tuned for future content. I'm going to be signing out now. Peace.